Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to a new episode of me being an absolute idiot on the ladder of StarCraft 2. But this time we are not on the ladder of StarCraft 2, but in a little tournament match I will attend every single week for the coming future. No further delay. For today, I have a best of 5 for you guys, with on the opposite side a 2.9k MMR player based in the Americas, a absolute chat para Slate. This matchup is actually pretty horrible for me. We're going a little bit fast paced. We see my opponent is going for kind of a standard build opening. He is going for a barracks. He is not even building his second command center at this moment. And I was thinking about circling rushing him. He saw, so he didn't even try to place a new command center. Over here I tried to get in some damage. I saw I could not do that, so I directly went for a second hatchery. So this is actually a really bad play for me. Oh yeah, and for the people who don't know, there was some lag of the person that was streaming this match. And as we can see currently, my opponent has more SUVs than I have drones. Even though my opponent is just on one base, and I'm kinda on two bases, my opponent kills off a crap load of me over here. And try to harass me a little bit with a drop. And yeah, overall even though it kinda looks like I'm ahead, I am actually not. I am not that ahead in this game, even though I have 3 bases. This drone isn't even doing anything. What I should try to focus on instead of, because currently I'm playing very aggressive. And as we can see over here, I actually inflict some sort of damage, like some good amount of damage. And if I didn't focus on this factory, there is a chance I could have won this little conflict over here. At least someone taught that to me. I think they're kind of correct, because I never finished off his factory. Even though I want to try to go for a new attack to kill off my opponent, the thing actually is I am not on point. Currently, even though I'm ahead in workers, I should have at least like 60 workers by now. And instead of going with roachers, because my opponent actually has stim at this moment, my roaches aren't of any use, unfortunately. As we can see, my roaches got annihilated by the enemy. And now he almost pumped out a lovely tank. And he's bunkering down, of course, that's also good of his side. And on my side of the map I have almost a full saturated base over here, I have a full saturated base over here, and I try to saturate this base as well. Currently I am ahead in workers. Do I say that right? Yes, I do say that right. Over here another little conflict, but I lost this conflict really bad. What you normally should do as a Zerg when you go against a Terran is just go with mass baneling and try to acquire as many bases as you can, and then eventually you just grow out the Terran and you defend every single attack of him until you have like such a big economy. You can just start nipping on the Terran, his production and his economy, and they cannot do anything about it. But unfortunately for me, I did not do as well, to be honest. Currently I wanna go for Hive. I have some lurkers over here. I of course have a Baning Nest, but without a roly-poly upgrade, so they can get really easily picked off by the Terran. Over here I see my Terran opponent is going in for a little and lovely attack. I don't have that much of a army currently. I have a lot of Banes, some lurkers, some roaches. over here I got a okay good. Yeah, I got a okay trade. He lost everything he had, but already had a pretty big army. And once more again, the person that's streaming us actually disconnected with accident. And as we can see over here, currently I am not far ahead with droning. I'm actually not ahead at all. And I do not have such a big army. Currently my opponent has a way bigger army than I have. So it's not that hard for him to actually try and attack me. Over here you can see he is focus firing my banelings. And at this moment I see I cannot do a thing because I don't have any army left anymore. And my opponent is just ripping me apart piece by piece. And to be honest, instead of staying in this tournament much longer, the other battles are pretty much the same. I got owned by this lovely opponent of mine, even though I trained the whole day against this kind of build orders. But I have a little special match for you guys, because the end result actually is 3-0 for my opponent. So I got owned real bad. And that's because I tried to do some cheeky builds, like Zergling Rush, and it failed miserably. I didn't prepare enough for the Zergling Rush, I was preparing for a other build. And I thought it was a very good idea to just do some other build. No, it was not. So, for the next battle I'm gonna show you guys, this is not against Parsletta, this is against an other Terran player who calls me a noob eventually. I think he was a little bit mad because I owned him pretty much the entire game. Because that's kind of the way, even though it's not perfect, it's how you should play this matchup against the Terran. So no further ado, let's see what that match is. Welcome back everyone to the second match of me against a Terran, a random Terran on the ladder of StarCraft 2. Just a little match I wanted to show you guys. Because this match I actually played pretty okay against the Terran. I made some mistakes here and there, but overall I think it's actually a pretty good game. Because what I want to try is have a big economy, going up, running around, 80 drones and then maxing out on army, so I can just overwhelm my opponent. But before you get to around 80 drones, of course I need to fend off many Terran attacks. So over here, pretty standard opening of the both of us. Even though this little SUV didn't quite understand the job about placing the command center in the middle. Anyways, the Reaper of the opponent is going to the other side of the map. I don't have any queens out yet, and no Zerglings. So as we're going to see on the units tab, I actually have 4 Zerglings out currently. And to try to do the little macro tricks with my Zergling, try to keep them all alive. Because that's something that's actually pretty nice to have. Not losing a single Zergling on the Reaper Scout. Over here we are going to see that my Terran is starting up a bunker, or actually produced a bunker, and wants to go a little bit defensive. Also, little flying trick of my Terran opponent over here, and as we see he wants to pump out some Hellions. So first he created the bioreactor with his barracks, so now he can produce 2 Hellions at once. Meantime, I'm at 3 queens currently, not a 4th in production, and currently my 3rd hatch just popped, so that's actually pretty nice. And over here we have some Zerglings with the metallic boost speed, and we see that my opponent is actually saving up some Hellions to try and harass me, of course. as we see, my opponent is going for the starport with a tech lab. So big chance, as we see over here, he's going with liberators and perhaps some battlecruisers later on. So currently my opponent is actually thinking about harassing me from two sides. One harassment in my main base, one harassment in my natural base. So this one I'm actually fending off pretty well, not losing a queen. But in the meantime, while I am busy trying to fend off all those Hellions, he's picking off so many drones. Currently on 9 drone kills. Even though it looks like I'm actually gonna grab most of his Hellions, if not all. But his Liberator's still going strong, and now we are going to see that I am picking off all of his Hellions. And the queen that just spawned killed off this lovely Liberator of my opponent, of course. And that's actually not on purpose. That was an accident. It was just the queen doing her duty on the main base. And I see I have not that many drones. Currently I was at the same level of my opponent. Currently I created mass drones because I knew he went in for the Hellion attack. So I have enough time to actually try and rebuild that economy of mine. So currently it's actually pretty boring. 1-1 for me is upgrading for the ground units, melee attack and armor. So that's pretty nice. At this moment I am at 50 drones, not at what I want to, but I am getting there, and I also should create a 4th base pretty soon. Don't know when. And little mistake over here, oversaturating this base. This is looking fine, going for the lair upgrade. Pretty nice, to say the least. And we're gonna speed this up just a little bit more, because in the meantime it's not that much going on. Just me droning up, taking a 4th base, perhaps thinking about taking a 5th base, and my opponent currently is going for the Cyclopses and is still on a 3 base economy. But what we are gonna see over here is I think I'm actually gonna scout this one, or perhaps a little bit too late, because if we look at my camera view, as we can see on the little mini map over here, just now we see the Terran coming in. I think I have seen it, although I'm not actively looking at it, and now I'm trying to intervene his little skirmish. So I'm at 73 drones and my opponent is at 50 SUVs. So that's actually pretty nice for me. I'm in a huge economical lead at this moment. I'm also 1 base up on my opponent. And at this time in the game, it's just defending. And it's really interesting, to be honest, how this is gonna end. We're gonna speed this up once more a little bit, because as we can see, 9 minutes into the game I don't have any other unit than Zerglings, Banelings, and just now I'm creating a Hydralisk den, directly a Lurker den and a Infestation pit, because I got the resources. More of plentiful on my side. Also I try to be a little bit keen on the creep this time, and placing some overlords around the map, also some Zerglings around the map. So yeah, my opponent, still on 3 bases, is going once more for a new attack. So I see that my opponent is actually harassing over here. So I hope pretty soon I'm actually drawing my army to the place where I'm getting attacked. I think I do not see it until he actually attacks me. So just let's look over here. I see he is going with mass liberators. That's actually pretty sad for me because I don't have any army to deal with that. So a little while ago I put a spire down, and how I want to deal with this currently is actually to try and get behind my opponent. So over here he got some tanks sieged, some cyclones, not able to move because of the Zergling wraparound. Most of his ground army is just vanished, and he thinks it's a bad idea to continue this fight, and he heads back to his own base. Yes, I was thinking about it. Doesn't he like to pick off my overlords? And yes, he did. Actually, this hatchery is saved, my fifth one, and my third I'm actually building back. So in the meantime, I have 77 drones and my opponent is at 61 SUVs. This base is a little bit oversaturated. I have some idle workers over here. Perhaps just to save them from what happened last time. And at this moment, the Spire actually has been created and is currently going for the lovely +1 upgrade, attack upgrade. And I'm already producing a hive. So that's also pretty nice because I want to go into lurkers. And I want that lovely range upgrade, to be honest. Don't want to fight with lurkers if they're under, if they don't have that upgrade. Currently, our Terran opponent is on 4 bases. And let's see what he has in his lovely base. Not that much going on, to be honest. Just still mass liberator, Hellions and tanks, so it's actually battle mech. Little idle SUV over here. Oh, and we are going to see that my opponent is once more going for a lovely harassment. This time, once more, my army is on the other side of the map instead of defending at home. So this is actually pretty funny because I want to play a little bit more defensive in this type of scenario. But what did I do? I was going for the attack because I have max supply. So when I have max supply, I actually want to try out and cancel some bases of my opponent. Also over here, I didn't micro my lurkers that well. I could have done way more damage if I did it properly. As we see over here, my opponent is actually dealing quite a lot of damage onto my lovely army. But over here, I have 8 lurkers, burrowed and all. And also, the range upgrade is already done. So, as we can see, I try to deal with the liberators using my corruptors while defending my ramp with the lurkers and my ground army. At this moment I'm actually at 75 drones, so that's actually quite nice from my side. And our Terran opponent decides to head back to his own base. Meanwhile, I took minimal amounts of damage, depending on how much I could have lost, because I have some original units from my army composition. I also have a lovely micro hedge at my main base, and I create a 5th base over here. I hope pretty soon I retake this lovely base over here, because that's legally mine. I owned it, I claimed it, I want it to be mine. So at this moment, I can go for a 3-3 upgrade on my ground army. I don't know why I am not doing that yet, because I'm at max supply and I'm also flooding resources. So I really should go and take those upgrades. Also, I don't yet have adrenal glands, even though I really should try that. So over here we are seeing that my opponent is actually wanting to transition into battle cruisers. So he's producing 3 battle cruisers at this moment, 4 battle cruisers. Don't know if he has other places where he placed a starport. I do not see that. Currently I am taking my my 5th, now it's my 6th base. And I'm actually pulling my army a little bit to this place. Perhaps to go and try to nibble on my opponent. I think that's what I want to do. Even though I created this build, even though I created this base, I don't have the space saturated yet, so it's pretty darn useless. And even though my opponent is now transitioning into mass battlecruisers, don't know when they're precisely created, I already have, let's see, 28 corruptors with +2 missile attack coming up real soon, and also going for the +1 carapace upgrade. Just trying to find out what my opponent is building, looking if I can get him to follow me so I can wrap around and get his army. Well, this is actually funny, because we only see Zerglings, some Banelings, some Corruptors, but where are my Lurkers? Well, I didn't think good enough about that. I left them burrowed at my 3rd, so that's not that smart of me, to be honest. We see over here I try to take as much units down from my opponent as I possibly can. So I took almost all, if not all, the Liberators down. And currently I'm trying to focus fire his battlecruisers. So at this moment his Cyclones actually deals a ton of damage to my units. Even picks off a Overseer. In the meantime I am saturating this base over here. While this base is almost fully saturated and this base is getting mined out. My main mined out, my second mined out, and I should be a little bit more keen on making those idle workers work actually, because I could take this base and this base, at least saturated. But at this moment 3-3 is getting done for my ground army, and not yet the adrenal glands, but at this moment it doesn't matter that much. I am still at max supply with 73 drones at this moment, and my opponent almost the same worker count, actually one little SUV more. But he has a lower army than me, lesser army. Even though he has more in the bank currently, more on resources. And this is actually pretty good. I take as many bases as I possibly can. Over here we see I am taking even a 7th base at this moment. And I'm walking my army across the map. And I just intercepted my opponent. Very lovely, very lovely. So I just had a little bit back burrow my lurkers. And as you can see over here I have some idle corruptors, because I thought he wasn't going with mass battlecruisers, even though currently he doesn't have mass battlecruisers, so that's good to notice. And at this moment I'm actually annihilating his forces, picking off the Liberators, or at least placing them in such a situation that they cannot siege, because the Cyclones need to protect the Liberators, but the Liberators protect the Cyclones. So I come in and attack the Liberators, and then with my ground units I attack the Cyclones. So my enemy actually doesn't have a chance of actually trying to siege his units. Let's see, do we have, yes, we have some idle workers over here, a oversaturated base over here. That's how it looks. No idle workers over here, so that's pretty good. And at this moment my opponent is actually going for some, I think, mass battlecruisers. At least he's not creating that much in his main base, just one single Cyclone, 2 upgrades, and that's actually it. Also, his bank got smacked pretty hard in the face. Meanwhile, I am actually quite ahead. Also, with harvesting resources, over here we see that my opponent is once more going for the harassment and I need to defend this lovely base of mine. And unfortunately, I think this base will fall to my enemy. I will take a big hit, back to 60 drones. My opponent is at 78 SUVs. So, as we can see, my opponent has a lead in resources gathering, even though I have a lead in having the bank. Also in supply with army especially, and I'm already back up to 70 drones. 73, 74, 81. Hup, I am back on it. So pretty soon, as we already can see, I am rebuilding this lovely hatchery over here. This one is fully saturated by now. This one is fully saturated by now. I have a lovely gas extractor over here I didn't even touch, even though I should. Also, I am not that far behind in losses, because I have 9k in the bank and I'm 5k behind, so that's actually not that bad. So at this moment I try to harass my opponent to know how many bases he actually has built, or command centers. But at least I'm taking one base of his and try to kill off his lovely battlecruisers. So at this moment I'm back to 13 corruptors and 12 lurkers. So even though it doesn't sound like much, it's actually a pretty decent army. Lurkers are good against ground, of course, and the corruptors are very good against the battlecruisers, especially if we go into focus fire. But at this moment my opponent has 11 battlecruisers, so one battlecruiser for each corruptor I have. So that's actually a really bad spot for me. Currently, more zerglings, more reinforcement on the way. Even though I've lost units, I am not even down in supply anymore. And at this moment I try to inflict some more damage on my opponent. Also try to take out some of his battlecruisers, but as we can see it's kinda in vain, because he has his lovely Jemaya cannon upgrade currently, and he also has some Thors. So my army is pretty much wiped out over here, even though I have a pretty decent bank. And also I have created a lovely Greater Spire, so if I want to go to Broodlords or transition into Broodlords, I have the opportunity now. This base is getting saturated. This base at this moment is a little bit oversaturated. And currently I'm even on +1 missile attack upgrade. So some AFK workers got sent over here. So this base is getting fully saturated, even a queen is building. And once more I am back at max supply at this moment, even though my opponent has massive amount of battlecruisers, 13 battlecruisers. He is almost max supply at this moment. And he's even pulling some of his boys to repair his battlecruisers. And I think he wants to go for a lovely skirmish. Yes, skirmish. And at this moment I have 32 corruptors. Those are upgraded with +2 missile attack and 1 plus carapace. At this moment I actually see that, oh shit, my opponent is actually trying to attack me. From the same side again. At the exact moment I am trying to build a lovely base over here. So that's actually pretty sad. So I'm gathering my units to get over here and try to get a hold on his army. So he's actually trying to kill off my hatchery. Meanwhile I'm actually punishing his little attack. And this is actually very special. You see 4 Thors over here. Ultralisk pretty much down 1 hit. He stops attacking. He just stops attacking. It's free. Free Thors. Who doesn't want it? And my opponent's economy is actually getting on a little bit of a shit show. So at this moment my corruptors are on the wrong side of the map, because the battle cruisers are attacking over here. I don't know why I am still making that mistake, because by this time I would already figure out that my opponent is constantly attacking over here in the top place of the map. So I try to pick off the battle cruisers a little bit one by one, and he tries to pick off my corruptors. So a little bit sad, but it's okay. I have still a pretty decent bank, 5 to 6k at this moment, and I'm already at max supply, and I try to take this lovely base over here, because by now this base is outmined, some idle workers. Perhaps I could take this base instead of this one, or at least both on the same time. That should be pretty decent to do. So I'm currently at 41 corruptors, because I want to transition to something special. My opponent got some massive Widow Mine hits on my corruptors. Very sad. But it just happened. I'll survive 37 corruptors against 8 battle cruisers. I could win that fight. Unfortunately, this base is picked off, and instead of drawing those lovely drones, I actually forget them over here. So at this moment, we are seeing that I'm actually going for some lovely Broodlords. In the meantime, I'm still injecting pretty much everything I can. I even have a lovely Ultralisk cavern. I used to build one Ultralisk. That's a little bit insane. So currently I think I am mass creating corruptors. And at this moment my opponent actually sees that I am going for Broodlords. So I didn't use any spellcasters, because I don't feel comfortable yet with playing with them. But as we can see, yeah, we don't see them Widow Mines. So what I need to do, of course, is create some Overseers. Yeah, at this point in the game my opponent loved to call me a noob, even though I was kinda wrecking him. It's because I didn't saw the Widow Mines. If we look once more, I just don't see them. But now I do. So over here he tried to do a little something with his Widow Mines, but he actually failed to do that. And he did some pretty darn good damage on my units, but fortunately for me almost nothing died. I think just one corruptor. Over here in the middle, creating an extra Broodlord. And my opponent actually pretty much half supply. Like he is at 96 supply, not that much. I need to be really stupid to actually lose this. At this moment, I actually have a Overseer, so I can see what my opponent is doing. My opponent tries to have one last stand, but I pretty much outmined him and out-traded him. Resources lost, still I'm just 5k behind, that's not that much. And that was it. He ended it instead with a lovely GG, with a okay noob. Who's the noob now? Overall, pretty decent game. Should be more keen on how I utilize my workers, because even though I had max droning like over here, I really should change how I use the workers, because this is dirty. This number over here, really dirty. But overall, pretty okay play. It was pretty hectic for me as well. And I hope you guys enjoyed this little match as much as I did. And I also hoped you guys loved that I showed off how to deal with a Terran. Even though this is not the answer, it is the answer I gave to this Terran. So, instead of playing aggressive, being a little bit more passive can help in some occasions, like politics for example. So, see you in another one. Bye.